But back to this grace thing, that's something that we experience, as you know,
Yeah.
very closely. I kind of will give one example. Some people kind of might be wondering why Monique has never done our show. And since the first time she did an interview with us, I think maybe back in 2019, when we did an interview with her, people might be wondering why.
I've been asked on interviews before.
Oh, you have?
I have, yeah.
And I think that's a great example of when we don't give each other grace. And I think the unfortunate side of it is that Monique presents herself as an advocate and my brother this, my sister this, and then when we make a mistake, she writes us off to oblivion. So we can get into that because I've been wanting to address that for some time because it's bittersweet. It felt like with the interviews that we did, for those that are watching, we did a one-on-one interview with Monique several years ago. They did phenomenal for our platform. It put us on the map. And it also, I think, helped change Monique's narrative that at the time people weren't understanding why she was making the decisions that she was. And it's a great interview and probably our biggest interview. And since then, I would catch wind that Monique and her husband were unhappy with how it was edited.
Yeah.
Right? And it kind of came to me later, meaning I was, I remember reaching out to kind of keep that momentum going. And there was light curves or light, things that not really address the elephant in the room until one day I decided to kind of get that answer. And we even got to a point we went to Monique's show and wanted to physically show hey, we are trying to make this work, and I don't even know if a white company would even go up to someone's show and try to do a face-to-face. And in the process of doing that, it felt like more so we didn't really get a direct answer until I did speak with her husband. And he pretty much laid it up to me. And he felt that an apology was owed. And he felt that the way that we edited the interview, which excluded him from the conversation, seemed to be their concern. And I will be honest with you, I was confused at first in receiving that because in the process of it, I remember how happy and excited they were. And if you know me working with me, I'm quick to make adjustments.
Right.
So at any point, they could have been able to say, hey, John, we don't like this. Well, cool, let's take it down. Let's edit this. Let's maneuver, because that's never my intention to make you uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And so, you've been a part of that process. Yeah, it's been unfair how we treat each other because I think, we see Monique had a whole thing with Netflix.
That's what I was going to bring up. Yeah, and I think that's the most unfortunate part because for me, obviously that interview happened before I came on, but even when I came on, I'm like, okay, I want us to take accountability because we could have done better. We could have, maybe the apology or something like that. And not even a maybe. I do think, apologizing and being able to mend that relationship in that way, especially if that's what they wanted.
Yeah.
But the disappointing part is to see, again, I'm a fan of Monique. I grew up loving Monique. Seeing her, not just outside of comedy, yes in comedy, but hosting, that's what I do. So seeing her in that light. So it was unfortunate to come here. And when we go to a show, I told her, hey, we love you at Comedy Hype. And then she just kind of dismissed me. Mm-hmm. But to see what she went through with Netflix not valuing you and not even open to negotiation, all these things. Hey, let's boycott Netflix. Right. And then you do a special with Netflix, you mend that relationship. And we've reached out a couple times to Monique.
Yeah.
And it's there's no grace or desire to mend a relationship with a black platform.
Completely roll us off.
Correct. And it's we could be the platform that anytime you have something going on, come here, do an interview. What do you want to put out?
And can I say this? The realest thing about it is that we still cover Monique to this day.
Out of love too. Yeah.
And then because we are committed to what our job here is, so it never gets personal. To a point where we're not going to do our job. So if Monique is making noise, we're going to cover it. But the issue is again, how quickly we write off each other.
Yeah.
Off one mistake. And I do think, looking back at it, not to put age into it, but I'm a young man trying to figure this out. There's no other platforms that's doing it like we're doing it in the space that we're operating in. So I'm going to make some mistakes along the way, but I need my people to allow me to make those mistakes.
Correct.
So that I can continue to progress.
Yeah.
And so when I seen Monique not be able to extend that grace, especially, I'm prideful, and I'm prideful, y'all. I'm working on it. And in my maturity, it is understanding that apology sometimes is not how you feel, it's just sometimes for the other person. And in that response, I definitely understand that Monique probably from me should have been like, hey, I'm sorry about that. Because clearly what I did offended them.
Yeah.
Clearly it made her feel some type of way, which was not my intention.
Absolutely.
So I owe you an apology for that. I think the issue is them being the OGs that they are. Hey, this young brother, clearly he's making a mistake. Let's maybe guide him. Let's maybe try to inform him on what the real issue is.
Yeah.
And I think that that's the issue. And it's not just necessarily a generational thing. It is just us as a people thing.
Do you think you would have been able to receive that if they did say, hey, let me guide you? Do you think at that point you would have been able to receive
At that
it,
point,
to play devil's
at that
advocate a little
point,
bit?
and I appreciate that question. At that point, it would have to make a lot of sense for me. Because at that time, it didn't make sense because I felt that they really appreciated what I did. So it felt like the energy shifted and I'm kind of like, what's going on? Y'all just was praising me.
Right.
And now things have changed. And I think that, you know, when I did finally have the conversation with him, I don't like giving fake apologies. And that's something that I'm kind of learning through of like, it's not about you, it's more so about the other person. So I do think maybe in hindsight, if I would have kind of settled my ego, my pride, I would have gave them what they needed at that time.
Yeah.
However, I do think that they should have definitely given more grace. Definitely been looking out like, okay, this is a young man. He's getting into a new position. Let's try to, you know, create some type of awareness for him. And just a bittersweet situation is the fact that, you know, we made so many millions of views together. And I think it helped Monique as well as it definitely helped us, and that we couldn't do that again.
Right. I mean, I think I'm big on, you know, and as long as I've been here, I'm always like, I think there's always an opportunity to extend the olive branch or always have that open door. Because even though I am disappointed of the relationship that we have with Monique, I'm still open to what that could possibly look like.
Yeah.
So
you know.
if I'm gonna pull a you on you because
okay.
you know I love watching your interviews. If Monique was here, or if Monique was watching this, Monique and her husband, what would you say to them?
Man, I think in real time, you know, there's a little bit of tightness for me only because I feel that I didn't do anything wrong. And I think that I try to correct all my errors. So this is me being very honest. Mm-hmm. However, I do think the conversation I love to have with them, and one that could be done in this way, one that I can hear them and they can hear me, so that we can be able to kind of like move forward, you know, because at the end of the day, having Monique as an ally and the conversations that we can create on this platform would be great. At the same time, I can't force someone to see our value.
Absolutely.
I can't force someone to feel that they know my heart and my intention. So they also have to make a decision, and that's what I would tell them, that you have to make a decision of, do you forgive us? Do you trust us in knowing that, hey, we're trying to do our best? So I would put it on Monique, meaning that I'm definitely open to having a conversation of progress, but the ball is in their court, and it always has been in their court.
Yeah.
We've always said that, like, yo, like, how can we make this right? Because going back to our conversation, it is so tiring to see us write each other off so fucking easily.